Hi, welcome to my Wednesday. We are joined by Peter Lohmann today, our Danish brethren from over the sea there. Hello.
Hello.
So, Peter, obviously, being a non-Englishman, how would you? How's the best way to put it? Did you fall in love with Wednesday and then watch them after, or did you watch them and then love them?
Well, the genesis, so to speak, is quite a few years back. 1992. Being Danish, obviously we won the Euro '92, and that got a then 10-year-old me into football as something to follow as well as play. And during the Danish season's winter break, since the 60s, there's been on the Danish BBC, there's been a weekly game from the English Premier League and the old First Division. So that season, 92-93, there was one of the better teams in English football was Wednesday, and they were on quite a lot on that show on Saturday. So I think being 10 years old, just I think the name was quite intriguing. I played good football, and yeah, so it's just all sort of rolled into one. I can't really recall whether this or that was the big trigger. The first memory I really have is of the FA Cup replay, because I was allowed to stay up on a school night and watch that. So that's the sort of intro to being a Wednesdayite you'd expect, and it's proven that way for the past.
So you were originally a Glory supporter, and then it was all downhill from there.
Exactly. Some nasty people would say the Lohmann effect was already a thing back then. So
yeah, I'm going to blame you.
Yeah.
It's either you or me. So you're saying it wasn't Kim Olsen that drew you in?
Nope. Unfortunately not. He actually had a decent career back in Denmark, but that probably says more about Danish football than anything else.
I was going to say, I think you're remembering a different guy.
Yep.
So who would you class as like your Wednesday icon? Like, who's your main guy?
I don't really think I have one player as such. I tend to have one or two players in every sort of like era or years of following Wednesday. It can be sometimes some weird ones. I remember being very taken with Michael Gray, for instance, which is a bit weird. And until he left us, I was definitely Stephen Fletcher's biggest fan, and before that, Kieran Lee was definitely the man close to my heart. And at the moment, it's probably George Byers, who I'm most taken with, so to speak. So I really like the sort of players who aren't about themselves, but about the team and making
Grafters.
the team function.
Yeah,
the grafters, but the ones that make the team and the players around them better. And especially Kieran Lee was that sort of player, and well, he still is for Bolton, according to Bolton fans, I know. So yeah. So that's I don't really have like an all-time hero in that sense, especially not being able to see us play a lot. The first game I was over for was in '99. I took the ferry from Esbjerg to Harwich, and I was 16 years old, and it was on my own, and so that was quite a big experience. But
excellent season for you to pick there as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that was actually the 1999 season, because it was April. But I came back the year after, and obviously we went down. So as you said, downhill from there.
Thanks for that. Yeah. So do you like players like George Byers and Kieran Lee because you're more of a stats guy, or is it just random?
It's definitely random. It's not like I guess some people would probably think I have some sort of spreadsheet that quantifies who I should like or not. But I'm very much an emotional person when I watch football. But I also like to try to. I mean, football is probably one of the most intriguing puzzles or jigsaws So it's more stuff like that I like, when they seem to be like ahead of the play and stuff like that. So the stat thing is more, it's more like appreciating after the event, so to speak. Whereas in the event, it's very much the raw emotion that drives things.
Yeah, I was going to say we're the exact opposites, because you could tell me that before we play Barnsley, that we've beaten Barnsley 10 games in a row, and I would still sit there thinking, oh my God, we're going to mess it up. So the stats just don't mean anything to my Wednesday brain, thinking we're going to mess it up. So what would you say is your most memorable match, whether you've seen it in person or remotely?
It's definitely the playoff final, and it's sort of moved into, it's not even about the match or the result anymore. It's of being a Wednesday. It was just fantastic to be a part of, and just seeing the size of us and being part of that us and being part of that we turned up so much that day, but while the players certainly didn't, and obviously it's still annoying that we didn't take the last step, but it's not
Still
it's not,
annoying.
I don't really, it's still annoying, but it is more of an annoyance these days, more, and not so much a crucial thing, I would say, because that day, regardless of the result, showed what we can be when we are at our best as a club. And obviously there were 11 players on the pitch that didn't quite decide to be that day, but they had been all season and far beyond anyone's expectations. So to even have been there was a big thing.
But we were so close.
We were so close. Yeah, I think in many ways the next season is more cutting because it was more of a whimper we went out on, whereas going to the final and having that day at least, and having that memory of just being there in that incredibly noisy sea of 40,000 Wednesdayites, that was a big thing. And whereas the next season, obviously I was removed from it. I was my wife and I and our two kids, we were staying in Toronto in Canada at the time, so I was watching on iFollow, and it's just even more of a damn squint to watch that penalty shootout lost back then. So it's I'm more angry about that season than I am about the 16-17 season, to be honest.
We've had quite a few damp squib seasons, to be fair, but not this season. So come on then, tell me.
Yeah.
Are we going up as super champions? And what are we going to do next season? And only tell me if it's good news.
Yeah, I think it's hard to see what could derail us, because we've had quite a few setbacks, like injury-wise, and especially the defensive situation where we've swapped and changed a lot. But there's definitely after the debacle of the first couple of months where we seem to concede the same goal over and over again, it's really been solidified, and it doesn't really matter who plays there. It's just the entire team is in a really good defensive structure. So it's really hard to see how we should come into a streak where we lose 4 or 5 games in a row, for instance. And I think it needs to take something like that for us to lose grip of top 2 at least. And I guess being champions obviously would be a big thing, because it's the first time since '59 we win. We'd have won a league, but it's still the promotion that's obviously the most important, and I can't really see that slipping away. And I think I'd say we're very much odds on for the championship as well. As for next season, well, there are 2 ways. It's been shown by the teams that went up last season, and there are sort of like 2 ways to go about it. And obviously, we were beaten by Sunderland last season, and they've had a decent season with a lot of hiccups along the way too. But I actually think it's a very manageable championship to come into, because there are a lot of teams that are in the throngs of austerity still at the bottom. The bottom 12 are not very good and won't be improving massively because there aren't any funds there and they're still cost cutting, a lot of them. So considering the push we'll have behind us and considering the quite significant pull that Darren Moore seems to have over players that are, in quotation marks, too good for us as a club, that should put us in a good spot for next season. And a lot of the players really should be able to make the step up. And obviously for quite a few of them, they were championship players until quite recently. So we definitely seem to have a very stable foundation to build from, and it doesn't require a massive overhaul in my mind, and it doesn't require us to shoot for the moon straight away. I'd definitely take a season of consolidation and trying to integrate a couple of new players before we go for it. It's not, for me, it's never been the most important thing in the world whether we get promoted or not. And I know that sounds crazy, but again, going back to Wembley in 16, being a fan of a football club to me is a lot more about having the club and living with the club than it is its results and what it does on the pitch ultimately. Obviously, it's nice when we do well, but it's when you've been through a couple of decades of stuff that comes out the wrong end of people, you just appreciate when things are going well, but you don't. I certainly don't expect things to be rosy all the time, and that's probably one of my big bugbears about my fellow Wednesdayites. It's the ability to raise expectations way ahead of where they should be too quickly.
Well, I have to say,
I'm fearing that if we go up as champions, for instance, and let's say we smash the 100-point barrier as well.
Yes, let's say that.
Let's say that, and let's say we start next season quite decently, and we're up around mid-table or whatever. If people then start expecting us to challenge for the playoffs or whatever, as a matter of expecting it, and not looking at what we have to work with, and where we come from, that will really annoy me, and it could derail some of the things, because I think the thing this season, the reason it works and the reason we're behind the team the way we are, is because we've not come into this expecting to be number one, because we've seen how hard last season was, and we've seen all the transition and all the hard work that has gone into getting us just to become a League One club that can challenge again. So it would be really annoying if we throw away all that appreciation and just start expecting again.
I have to say, though, a month ago, I'd have just said, forget it, I'll take second, I don't care. But now, I've changed my mind. I've got excited.
We want it. Yeah, we want it, don't we? And I mean, it's obviously we should. Obviously that's what we're aiming for as well. And I think Plymouth have been overachieving. Certainly, sorry for the stats speak, but the underlying numbers. The entire season, and obviously losing the best keeper in the division through an injury that was probably not exactly innocuous from just Winders, will be a problem for them, and it looks like the teams behind Plymouth are sort of like going after you and after you, so it's not like they're racing up against us either. So top two looks quite safe, and that gives us the freedom, as I'd say, to go for the champions spot. And I really, it's really hard right now to see how we could let that slip, but yeah. We've seen
but it wouldn't be unlike us, would it?
No, exactly. So that's what we have against us. It's but there are so many typical Wednesday things that we could have done this season, and that we certainly did last season, that we haven't done this season. So maybe it's the season of typical Wednesday not being the damp squibs and the wimpy boys, but actually being not just successful, but being good, honest, hardworking people, because that is the ethos that Darren Moore has brought to the club, and that's a lot more important than all the players he's brought to the club and all the positivity, because he leads by example by being a good person and expecting people to behave as good people. And if we do that, then the rest will follow. The good football will follow. But you need to start the right place, and that is fixing the culture, which was pretty much diabolical and a big reason for why we went down ultimately. And and you don't mean to say that culture does not start from the bottom; it starts from the top. So yeah.
So have you always been on board with Darren Moore then, or
I was
just spinning around, changing your mind about things?
not as much as your old man does, but yeah, I was intrigued when we hired him, because I know from Doncaster fans that they were sort of expecting him to maybe not stay on at the club after the summer that season. So I wasn't expecting a lot. I was expecting it to be one of Chansiri's desperation hires, to be honest, because we just come out of the post-traumatic stress of having Tony Pulis, the roaring dinosaur, beat our squad into pieces and be the worst manager in our history. Second worst manager actually, but still. So anything from there was really a bonus, and the doubts I had last season were around his tactical ability, but what Darren Moore has got going for him, and which we could not have known from the start, is his ability to know where he is weak and recruit accordingly. So I think his coaching staff
has been excellent, to be fair.
Yeah, his recruitment for players has been really good, but I think the recruitment on the coaching staff side of things is actually more important, because it has allowed him to focus on what he's good at and not try to do things that he aren't as good at as a sort of half measure, because he has to be everywhere. So he's been really good at delegating, and a true leader knows when to delegate, and a true leader knows when they are not the best at something. And it is even led the owner of our club to something that feels like the same sort of thing, that you need to let people who are actually good at this do their thing. And I think that Darren Moore knows that, and given his remit is now narrower, he can be a lot more effectful and be that culture bearer at the club, and set that tone, that ethos in the dressing room. And then he has people to help him with the tactics, people to help him with the organization defensively, because that was an issue certainly last season and the start of the season as well. But he's made continual hires for the backroom staff along the way, and that seems to have had a big effect, because it's the same players, but they're playing differently and to a plan. So he wasn't someone I expected to do the job he's doing now. But I think a lot of managers being allowed the time that he has been allowed at ours would actually be not as successful, but certainly a lot more successful than they are allowed to be, because they usually sack within a year if they don't follow the expectations, which are often the expectations of fan bases are often far above where you should realistically expect a club to finish. So if you yeah, exactly. So if you sack a manager based on the expectations, you're really not doing it right, because you're throwing gold on the street potentially, and a lot of clubs are doing that. I mean, Watford are going into hyperdrive with that sort of thing, but
I think either me or you is going to be the next Watford manager. Out of people,
there's a good chance. I think I've got an advantage, because I've got a fancy foreign name, so that might be
that's true.
my books. But you know,
so you've got two kids. Have you got them back? Have you got them into Wednesday? Have you?
I've got my
seen her?
yeah my eldest. Actually, the first game I took him to was actually the last game of, and took him into to the game into that very noisy away end, and he'd just woken from a nap and had to leave with his mum after 25 minutes into the game.
Oh.
So didn't get to see the bedlam at the end there, but he was just too overwhelmed by it. But he's been we've been to Hillsborough as well. It was a boring 0-0 against Reading, but it was the most delightful 0-0 I've been to, because he was there with me, and you got to see him being overpowered by just the size of Hillsborough, the amount of people there, and just seeing that this absurd and weird football team that his dad had been talking about non-stop since he'd been born. He was asked whether he wanted to be a mascot for Wednesday at the game, but he was too scared to do it. And I was just sitting there next to him, and I couldn't do anything. So yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was the first thing my wife said when I told her. I was like, "Did you say you wanted to do it?" I had to restrain myself. But yeah, he's big into his football. But alas, I mean, he definitely follows our results, and he'll always update me on results and stuff like that. But he's for his sins, he's also a fan of Manchester United. So you can't win them all.
Might be less so right now.
Yeah. He was. I was watching that game with him and some kids from the football team that I help coach that he's on, and that was I was telling him, mate, I've been through this. I've had 8-0s 3 days after my birthday. I've had things like this happen for 30 odd years. I know where you are. But he really wants to go watch a game at Hillsborough again. So I'm actually planning and he's hopefully fast asleep now. I'm planning a trip across for the Derby game, and hopefully combining that with Manchester United's game at West Ham that weekend. But I'm trying to figure out the details of that. But yeah.
Well, hopefully it's all sewn up by then if you're the jinx.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I dare come across then.
So lastly, before you go, you sent us a picture of you in the Sanderson shirt with the white band down the middle, which obviously divides opinion. But what's your favourite Wednesday kit? Mine is this one. As an away kit. The green away kit.
Yeah, the black away kit, Children's Hospital sponsorship away kit as the away kit, and the home kit was also the Children's Hospital the same season. I think those two kits, because of that, a big part of it is that Children's Hospital logo, because of what it signified about the club being part of its community and taking some responsibility for its community. But also, it was just such a classic shirt design where nobody tried to play around with something just to be fancy. It's just pure, simple, basic, the way a Wednesday shirt should be, and obviously the black away shirt being a heart to our illustrious, not so long ago past, also help, but it's just it's a really that those two kids are really smart, and I wear them regularly. Still, I've got about 30-40 odd shirts, different Wednesday shirts lying in the cupboard. So they get an outing regularly.
Good stuff. Is there a player that you associate with that kit, or is it just the kit that you like? I wonder.
I wouldn't say I have like a player. No, I don't think I do actually. I don't tend to be that player. It's funny. I don't tend to be that player oriented really in many ways. I don't know why that is. It might be experiencing it all from afar. You're more like focusing on the team, or it's more glimpses. I think there are other shirts that I associate with players. It's like as a Ross Wallace shirt in my mind, for instance, and stuff like that. A Forestieri shirt in my mind, but those two probably just maybe it's just about the quality of players at the time, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all forgotten about the relegation season shirts. We don't go there anymore.
Yeah, there was our there was even someone who shall remain nameless who to the playoff final wore what he thought was a 98 shirt, and it turned out it was a relegation season shirt. So obviously the entire blame for that playoff final defeat rests with this person who shall, as I say, remain nameless.
Well, yeah, we're going to blame that person. Right then, fabulous Peter, that's been fantastic. And did you say that you're coming back for the Derby game? That's right.
Yeah. Hopefully, I need to sort out the details and all that, but yeah, it's hopefully that is where I can manage to come across with my eldest.
But if it hangs in the balance, you're not allowed.
We'll see. I'll go incognito. I'll just blue glasses and mustache and all that.
I'd only wear a shirt that we've won promotion in.
Good point.
Fabulous, Peter. We will see you at Derby.
Yep.
See you later.